couldn't be more excited and proud of this freaking group, man. We've been through some stuff the last couple of weeks, but guess what? We stick together and we fight and we fight and we fight, and that's what we did, and we came out on top. It was the ultimate team effort. And the greatest thing about it was we talked about energy at the start of the week, right? Urgency, and we had it during the week, and then it shows up on Sunday because of the preparation. We got to keep it going. We talked about it before the start of this week. We're right where we want to be. So guess what? You know we got a Victory Monday! Hey, hell of a job, man. Hell of a job. The resilience, man, for 4 quarters. That's what it's going to take every freaking week. The preparation we put into it every single week, right? It's going to show on Sundays, all right? 5 hell of a game.
Hell yeah.
Hey, good work all week, fellas. Hey, let's keep it going. Let's keep it stacking. Good victory today, but hey, we on to the next one. Now keep the system going. Let's keep stacking. Let's get it going and just get the dubs going. Hey, Colts on me. Colts on 3. 1, 2, 3. Go!
You're listening to the Colts Blue Zone Podcast with Mike Chappell and Dave Griffiths.
Indeed, hell of a game 5. Finally, something for the Colts to get excited about. Something for the fans to get excited about. A Victory Monday. It's been a few weeks. Just to recap, Indianapolis lost to Buffalo. They lost to Minnesota. And they lost to the Houston Texans as well, before finally notching a win after 3 straight losses. This is the Colts Blue Zone Podcast. I'm Matt Adams with this game recap of Indianapolis' 28-27 win over the New York Jets. This was an exciting game. This was a game in which it looked like the Colts, for a time, were going to run away with this thing. And then, of course, the Jets, who have been pretty abysmal this season, in all honesty, they're now 3-8 on the season, had just not looked very good. And they found their offense a little bit against the Colts in some inopportune moments. And the Colts did not play a perfect and clean second half by any stretch of the imagination. But they've played so many of these one-score games to find themselves on the winning edge, for the defense to close things out, even despite a stupid penalty from E.J. Speed, who makes great plays, but sometimes always has that bonehead thing that happens at the end of the game. He got a delay a game penalty for, basically trying to pin down another player from the Jets to keep the clock running. Kind of backfired on the Colts, but you know what? They got the big sack at the end from Kwity Paye, closed out the game, and there's a lot of good things to look at from this football game. First off, I want to start off with Anthony Richardson. How could you not? After being benched for 2 weeks in favor of Joe Flacco, losing both of those games, by the way, turning the ball over a lot, especially in last week's game. It has been just a really good performance by Richardson. And to be perfectly honest, this was the type of offense that I had expected the Colts to run with to start this season off. Run heavy, use Richardson on some quarterback powers, the occasional sort of sweep play, just some designed runs to get him going. And then you add in some passes. You take a few deep shots. And, I'm not saying you play it safe, but you emphasize the skill set of the guy you have under center. And it was mind-boggling to me earlier this year. And I know that the sense was the Colts expect everybody to do what I just said that they would do, right? But that's also where they can execute their game plan. And that's why it befuddled me that we were having some games where they were coming out throwing. And I know the thought process there is they're loading up the box. There's less people out there in the secondary covering. We're going to be able to bust some plays in the passing game. And Richardson was missing. I mean, he still is not completing 50% of his passes on the season as a whole. But they did what I expected them to do schematically. Emphasize the strengths of your quarterback. Run the ball. Use him as a run threat. And then some of these plays are going to shake loose. And they did. He had big completions to A.D. Mitchell. He had big completions to Alec Pierce. He had big completions to Josh Downs and Michael Pittman Jr. It's difficult, and it's not going to be easy, and we're going to be up and down on this Anthony Richardson roller coaster. But you look at what this offense was able to do this week, and I know Flacco's got his supporters out there, but let's face it, he was just not very good the last 2 weeks when he replaced Richardson in the lineup. And it's been a surreal experience covering this team and being told in the entire offseason it's going to be a roller coaster. We're going to ride Richardson. We know it's going to be up and down. And then when you're down, and in that game against Houston where just some competent quarterback play wins that pivotal game in the AFC South, they don't get that from Richardson. He has a bad game, makes some terrible decisions, and then they put him on ice for a couple of weeks. And we don't know, we won't know internally whether that was the plan to keep him out for 3-4 weeks or whatever, to learn his craft, to be more detail-oriented, or whatever the franchise had planned for him, that they did not think he was fulfilling some of his duties. Then they benched him in favor of Flacco. And while Flacco is a great guy to have on the roster, a veteran quarterback who's, seen everything, as they always tell us, they got better play out of Gardner Minshew last season than they got out of Joe Flacco. Essentially, Flacco had his great fourth quarter against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that got everybody salivating about what this offense could be. But they were not able to replicate that. The running game was not strong. The running game this week wasn't very strong either, but the Colts stuck with it. And when I say it wasn't strong, I mostly mean in terms of efficiency and yardage. Jonathan Taylor's longest run was 10 yards. He ran into a lot of situations where as soon as he got the ball, guys were at his feet. It looked like Trey Sermon when they would fill in for Taylor. And I'm not going to say that it's not all Taylor. A lot of it has to be that offensive line. You were missing Ryman this week. You've got Dalton Tucker starting at guard, although he's played in a few games now. And then Bortolini, who has had a pretty decent rookie season when he's filled in for Ryan Kelly, did have some trouble moving some guys around on that interior. There is no doubt about that. And that's where the Jets don't have a great run defense, or they have not statistically, but they do have some strong interior pieces, and the Colts were not able to keep those guys at bay this week. But the important thing is, even though the running game was not nearly as effective as we would like it to be, it was always a threat. And Taylor carried the ball 24 times this week, and Richardson himself had 10 carries. So it's always in the back of your mind. And that is exactly what you wanted to see. And they were able to take advantage of some man-to-man coverage. And then on the last drive when they needed it, it was a zone coverage, but a palms coverage is what Steichen called it. And when the receiver did not follow Pierce and the safety had to get over the top, he was late, and it was the biggest play of the game for the Colts, the most important play of the game for the Colts there at that time. So 28-27 is your final score. Indy had raced out to a 13-0 lead in this game. It looked like they were going to walk home with it. The Jets were terrible on offense. They had 5 straight 3-and-outs. 4 of those were punts. 1 was a turnover on downs. Couldn't get anything done. And the Colts weren't super great on offense, but they did enough. They got a couple of field goals. They got the touchdown where Anthony Richardson just basically sent a guy, just lowered his shoulder and just put a guy on his butt. Because he strong-armed, he stiff-armed a defensive lineman on that play as well. Just incredible stuff on that run touchdown. And so they had a 13-0 lead. And then the Jets got the ball late in that first half and really turned things around. Indy started playing a little bit softer on defense, like in their coverages. And they just let the Jets just kind of march right down the field. And then Breece Hall, essentially walked it into the end zone on a pass play. And so even though the Colts had dominated in terms of time of possession, they dominated in points, they dominated in yardage, because those a couple of those early possessions ended in field goals instead of touchdowns, It's now a one-score game. It's 13-7. But you're thinking, well, the Colts have shown some life here. They're going to come out in the second drive, or in the second half on their opening drive, and they'll score, and then we can, the defense can clamp down, and then we can, we don't have to worry too much about this game. Well, instead of that being the case, on that opening drive of the second half, Anthony Richardson gets sacked and loses the football. It gets recovered by the Jets, and they score a touchdown. And so suddenly, even though the Colts had dominated in time of possession, they had dominated in yardage, they dominated in points up to that point, they're down 14-3. And the rest of the way it ends up being a dogfight. And the Colts came up with plays when they needed them. You saw some really good things from Richardson this week. We saw some other things. I mean, he had a chance to tie the game up on a 2-point conversion pass and couldn't quite get to Mo Alley-Cox. But then you also saw another play where Richardson had a guy hanging off his back, and he floated the ball up to Josh Downs, and he managed to catch it, and it ended up being an important play. So, and the running game in the red zone, that was really what had sunk the Colts the last couple of weeks, is not being able to score when they got into the red zone. And it's not a cure-all. It's not going to work all the time. But Richardson makes a difference in that red zone, and he had 2 rushing touchdowns this week. So, yeah, we know that we're going to see some inconsistency. We know that some of those mid-range passes that, he's going to throw them, and then we're going to just wish that he had that throw back, and he's going to wish he had that throw back. But for the most part, Anthony Richardson played about as efficiently. And that's what I'm talking about with Richardson, where you want to see improvement. Yeah, you want to see him hit some of those layup passes. You want to see him hit those deep shots as well, because, that ball kid's got a cannon, right? But what you want to see is an improved understanding of the offense, and you want to see efficiency. And yes, did the Colts have some 3-and-outs? Of course they did. Did they make some mistakes? Yeah, they turned the ball over on the sack fumble. That was the only turnover of the game. And the defense, which had been so good at generating turnovers, game-changing turnovers, was not able to do that against the Jets. Although when you hold a team to 5 3-and-outs and you force them to punt, the defense is doing its job. But they weren't able to get that big interception or that big fumble. They came close on a fumble, but weren't able to quite do it. But despite that, the Colts were able to sustain some drives. They actually won in time of possession this week, which has been just an Achilles heel all season. And, they kind of went back and forth. The Colts defense did force the Jets to settle for a field goal with about 2:41 left in the game. And so that made it 27-22 at that point. And the Colts had a chance to, put it in the hands of their guy and go down and try to get that go-ahead score. And they did it. 6-play drive included just that beautiful pass to Alec Pierce for 39 yards that set everything up. Richardson hit Josh Downs for a 17-yard pass play as well. Hit Michael Pittman Jr. on a short pass to kind of get him a little closer to the end zone there. And then Richardson ran around the left edge with his second touchdown run of the game with 46 seconds left. Colts unable, they did get the tight end opened on their first attempt to get a 2-point conversion, and the throw just wasn't quite there, or the tight end couldn't get to it either. However you want to look at that one. The second time they went for a 2-point conversion, they handed it to Jonathan Taylor, and he just got swallowed up the middle. And it's too bad. I really wish that I would have liked to have seen some play action, some rollout stuff, some things like that, because I think that's where Richardson can excel. But you know what? That's okay. 46 seconds left. You know that there's still time for the Jets to get down and try to get a field goal, and a field goal wins them that, because the Colts are only up by 1 at that point. But Indy got some pressure on them. They managed to get a sack, and the Jets were unable to, get into field goal position to try, or Hail Mary or anything like that. So good job on the Colts for closing the door. They could have closed it a play earlier if E.J. Speed hadn't decided to try to lie down on top of a Jets player and pick up a penalty that stopped the clock and gave him another play. But, Kwity Paye made sure to close the door on that one. So again, victory Monday for the Colts, long time coming, something that both the team and its fans needed this week. Some stats real quick. Jonathan Taylor, 24 carries, 57 yards. Long of 10, just a 2.4 average this week for JT. Found some running space kind of early on, and then it just kind of closed down. Josh Downs, 5 catches, 84 yards, touchdown, long of 31 for him. Alec Pierce, 3 catches, 74 yards, long of 39 for Pierce. And I tell you, man, Pierce, I don't even think it's quietly having a good season right now. Alec Pierce is having a really good season for the Colts so far. Michael Pittman Jr., 5 catches for 46 yards. And none of them were like huge catches, but, you know, in terms of necessarily yardage. But Pittman had a nice game when they needed him to. Just to have him out on the field, I think really helps the Indianapolis offense. And, you know, he did have a 20-yard catch in this game. Most of his others were short, but, you know, it's good to have him back there on the field. A.D. Mitchell had the big game last week when Pittman was out and had a career high in catches and yards. This week, just a catch for 33 yards. But again, dude can separate from a defender and accelerate after the catch when you get him the ball. And he did exactly that, just short of getting a touchdown in this game. Something else I found a little bit interesting, not big numbers, but Richardson did complete 4 passes to tight ends, and as many tight ends as the Colts have, they've kind of not been much of a factor in the game as far as the passing, the receptions and passing yards are concerned. They've been out there protecting, they've been run blocking, doing the dirty work that you would expect from tight ends. But as far as having an impact on the passing game itself, in terms of statistics, they've not had much going. But Richardson found 9 different receivers in this game between running backs and tight ends. On the defensive side, E.J. Speed, 9 tackles. I mentioned his stupid penalty late in the game. Kwity Paye, 7 tackles, a couple of sacks for him. Leatu Latu, 3 tackles, a sack, had a couple tackles for loss. And this, you know, he is in that backfield, man. This was not a good offensive line, and he was putting some pressure on in this game, and you can see that. Another great thing to see for the Colts this week, Matt Gay, 3 of 3. He hit from 41, 47 yards, and finally got he'd kicked some other 50-plus yarders this season, but man, when they needed that 56-yarder, he nailed that one, and that was a big moment in this game for the Colts. Indy won the time of possession battle 34-17 to 25-43 to the Jets. They outgained the Jets on offense 332 to 253. Indy ran 67 offensive plays to New York's 52. And you can't do this because it's cherry picking and it's selective, but the Jets had a 7.5-minute drive that ended in a field goal. That was their last possession of the game. 13 plays, 50-some yards, 7.5-minute drive, ended in a field goal. They punched that ball into the end zone. Then this game's probably over, but the defense held. Jets decided to go for the field goal instead of, you know, trying to keep the clock turning and all that. But even with the Jets having had that drive that lasted 7.5 minutes, the Colts still owned an almost 10-minute advantage in time of possession. Just goes to show you how poor the Jets offense is, how well, for the most part, the Colts defense played in this game. The Colts, you know, it was a win they needed to have. It was a good team victory. I think Shane Steichen will tell you that. As a matter of fact, let's hear from the Indianapolis Colts coach right now.
First off, great team win. Obviously, these games come down to the wire a lot of times, but the resilience of our group was phenomenal there. Great drive at the end by Anthony and the rest of our guys to go down and score. You know, the way he played, the way he battled today was phenomenal. We got to keep it rolling.
Shane, I know their corners are very good. How did you get Pierce open?
They were in a little palms coverage there, and we had a little outbreak by Downs, and corner fell off and got it, you know, behind him.
Shane, I know AR's composures throughout the day, you know, fumble, missed snap, and that drive. It was great.
Composure was phenomenal. You know, 20 of 30 throwing the football for 275, 2 touchdowns, and a touchdown pass. He was on it today. It was awesome.
Sorry, and to show that composure in the fourth quarter in particular, I feel like that's where he was at his best. What does that say about him?
I think it's excitement more than anything. I mean, the guy, we know how talented he is, and he put in great work this week. got to continue that because we know what type of player he can be in this league for sure.
Did you guys make a concerted effort to get him rolling in the pocket, moving in the pocket a little bit more?
Yeah, a little bit. We had some things up. We didn't get them all called, but we had a few early, and then we were trying to run the ball there in the first half. In the second half, obviously, we didn't run it as well as we thought, so started throwing it there a little bit in the second half and had some success doing that.
Was that opponent, or was that, feeling like that's something you could have done more with Anthony earlier in the season?
I think we're just looking at opponents and stuff and how we can go about winning football games.
For Anthony to have the game he did when you're, GT average 2 point something per carry, just how impressive is that given those circumstances?
Yeah, I think it's huge. When you got a quarterback that can run, obviously that balances out the run game when you got two guys back there. And obviously he did a hell of a job doing it. That touchdown at the end on the QB keep there around the edge was huge.
I know all the wins count the same, but this one in particular, do you feel like this can be a spark just getting the quarterback back in the way that he helped lead us?
100%. I think, sometimes you go through some stretches like we did and lost 3 in a row, and you get a big win like we did today, and that can spark things. Sometimes it just takes one to get it going. We know we got a huge one coming up against Detroit at our place, so we got to put in the preparation like we did this week, be ready to go for them.
How do you think that Anthony sitting for the last 2 weeks helped him prepare for today, or what has changed for him?
Yeah, I think obviously he had the chance to sit back and see it from a different perspective. And again, he was putting in the work and progressing in that way, and he was ready to roll today.
How much in the past he's, a lot of go balls down the field. Today it felt like he maybe passed up some iffy ones for better things underneath. Is that a sign of growth?
Yeah, I think we had some shots there. I got to go back and look. But he hit some big ones. They were playing some man coverage on some of those that we hit. We hit the 2 crossers to Alec, which were big. But yeah, I thought he did a really good job.
Shane, what does it say about the defense there? They're like running out the clock. They're converting these 3rd and longs and 2nd and 15. For them to bow up and hold it to a field goal, that everybody's going to remember the drive, but that was huge.
Oh, there's no doubt. Obviously, if they score there, it's going to be tough sledding for us, obviously. But they did bow up in that situation to hold them to a field goal, and we got that ball back with plenty of time. And it was huge to hit that play, to Alec, on the 2nd down to get it down there, got some momentum. And then a great job after that. The next play, we hit downs down the pipe to get it down there to the 10. So it was a hell of a drive, hell of a team effort.
For Anthony to get that first touchdown on the run play, do you feel like, does that loosen him up when he can get something like that early, especially?
Yeah, 100%. We started the game with a run, obviously with them, and obviously they did a good job. Credit to them, they were on it. But he played phenomenal. He battled all day.
How much does confidence matter for a player, his age, his inexperience, and how much does a game like this feel good?
Yeah, I think it's huge. Anytime you play well in any game, no matter what, but especially a young player, to have that success, you got to turn around and do it again, the preparation every single week to get done what you want to get done.
The third downs he had to mow into downs where he was kind of either in the grass or he was moving outside the pocket, just those instances of his physical talent being able to take over there.
Yeah, no, he had a few that, if the guy was hanging on him and he got away, it's like, throw it away. It's like, oh, he's hanging on to the ball. It's like, throw it, and he got it off, which was, phenomenal. Just goes to show you the strength that he has. But yeah, he made some big time throws, obviously downs there on the 3rd down, and then obviously the 1 to downs that we scored the touchdown on too. It was good to see all the receivers kind of get involved. But too, I want to credit our defense. That first half was lights out. It couldn't have been any better. I don't know how many 3 and outs they had. They might have had 4 or 5 in a row. Phenomenal effort by our defense.
You mentioned the week.
What'd you tell AR after the game? He's your quarterback. He's the guy you brought in here. What'd you say to the guy?
I just said, phenomenal job, man. Keep it going. Keep preparing the right way every week, man. You keep doing what you're doing, man. It's going to be special.
You mentioned the week to week.
Shane, Matt Gay, 3 for 3, over 40 today, long at 56. Starting to look like he's finding his groove.
Yeah, 100%. I think those field goals are big. Anytime you get points in this league, whether it's field goals or touchdowns, you want to score touchdowns. But when you have an opportunity where you got to settle for 3, he stepped up big time in that role for us.
You mentioned the week-to-week progression you want Anthony to show, but it was 2 drives back-to-back touchdowns. Like, is that kind of microcosmic of what you want from Anthony, just back-to-back drives?
Yeah, 100%. I think you just want to see growth, continued growth, week in and week out from young players. And he showed up today and showed out, for his team today.
That was Indianapolis Colts coach Shane Steichen reacting to the Colts in their 28-27 win over the New York Jets. This was a road game. Those were not always easy to win. This was a 1-score game. Ditto, not always easy to win. The Colts faced some adversity here. They got up to a nice lead and then just saw it melt away. And then when they needed their quarterback and their offense to step in at the end of the game, they were able to churn some clock and get into position and win the football game. So good job on that. I am sure that, after losing 3 in a row, just exactly what you needed to have if you're the Indianapolis Colts. Let's look at Richardson in this game. 20 for 30 for 272 yards. The Jets were averaging. They have had a rough year. Their defense has been good, but not as good as it was last year. But they were still only giving up about 170 pass yards per game. Their vulnerability had been in the run game, and you can tell that's the area where they concentrated on the Colts this week because they felt that was the strength of the Colts game. So 20 for 30, 272 yards for Richardson, and that's a 66% clip there, 67% clip there. He did have a throwing touchdown, a passing touchdown to Josh Downs, no interceptions. On the downside, a couple of negatives, had that lost fumble on the sack. He also had a fumble exchange with Taylor on one of the read option plays, and that set the Colts back on a drive at an inopportune time. Colts with a couple other penalties that were just not great in that second half when they really needed to get something going and move the ball. Just a better offensive scheme, I think, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast here, just a better offensive scheme for the Colts. Lean into that run game, let Richardson shake free on some of those runs, design some stuff for him, kind of get him into the groove, and then, take some shots. And he hit some mid-range stuff in this game too, and that was key for the Colts. But then also able to hit a few of those 30-plus yard passes. And it's been a while since we've been able to see any of that happen for the Colts. And again, just a better job of emphasizing the strengths of your quarterback. I know this was a trying week for the Colts, a trying week for the fan base. What's going on? We're going to ride Joe Flacco till the end of the season, but no, he didn't play well, so now it's time for Richardson to go back in. And, why did we bench Richardson? Well, or why did you guys bench Richardson? Well, we did it because, we need to put in the work. But we thought he was a good guy who was a hard worker already. But I guess it was for Steichen, attention to detail, sometimes lacking from Anthony Richardson. And whether that's, he mentioned the weight room, the classroom, and that sort of thing. So just needs a little bit more commitment, I suppose, from your franchise quarterback. And, it might have been, some of that may have been, you don't know what you don't know. But also, he's the franchise quarterback that you guys drafted number 4 overall a season ago. You should have probably set those expectations earlier. That's something that, we talked about a little bit on the show that previewed the Jets game with Dave and Mike. And it's sort of a confounding situation, to be perfectly honest. But it was clear. Yeah, I think the Colts did believe that if they put Flacco in this offense, they had enough pieces that they would be able to compete and get into the playoffs. But the reality of the situation was that Joe Flacco has limitations. He's older. He cannot move in the pocket the way that he used to, and he can't move in the pocket anywhere near what Anthony Richardson can. Other quarterbacks in this league, in this game, had they been back there, there are some drives that end with sacks and stuff like that. That Richardson's able to just kind of shrug off because he's so big and he's so strong. But when it didn't go where they thought it was going to go with Flacco, I think they turned back to Richardson, kind of a 2 weeks after 2 weeks in timeout or what have you. And this does not mean it's time to hang the AFC South banner from the rafters or anything like that, because the Colts have a very tough opponent. We'll talk about that a lot during next week's during our show later this week. But the fact of the matter is the Colts got a win. They needed it. It was a road game. Puts them to 5-6 on the season. And their young quarterback that has been their biggest question mark this whole season, this whole 2 years, essentially, came through in the clutch in a game that the Colts sorely needed to win, break them out of that 3-game losing streak. And a couple things that really stuck out to me. On the drive that led to Matt Gay's 56-yard field goal, where they desperately needed the points at that time, they faced a 3rd and 13. Richardson converted that one to downs. They also faced a 3rd and 9 on that drive. Richardson again found downs to get the first down there. And they sorely needed those plays. They needed those conversions. Did it get them into the end zone? No, it didn't. The drives kind of stalled around midfield, but they still got in field goal range, and they had enough confidence in Matt Gay to try to boot that thing from 56 yards. And he got it in, and it was a key moment in the game. They don't get there if they don't get a couple of those third and long completions from Richardson, which, let's be perfectly honest, that's probably the area that he struggled in it the most. And if you're a Colts fan, you've watched the games with Richardson under center, you do not want to be in third and long because you may as well just go ahead and punt on third down. That's how it's felt at times this season. But in a couple of key situations, when they needed to move the ball, he was able to find those third down plays and get them to his guys. Now, next week might be a complete disaster. We won't know. We'll see how things turn out. But for now, for this week, time to go back to basics on your scheme. Let Anthony Richardson do the things that he's best at. And finally, for once this season, I think we saw a complete game from him. The rushing numbers don't leap off the page, either from Richardson or from Taylor. But Richardson carried the ball 10 times for 32 yards, found the end zone twice. I cannot stress enough how much of a difference it makes when you're in scoring position to have Anthony Richardson there and have those legs as an option. And the Colts used them to the best of his ability this week. Enough from me prattling on. Let's hear from Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we got the victory, so good news.
Take us through the final drive and just the emotion of scoring and winning.
Oh, man, the emotions were definitely at an all-time high. You know, I knew we scored, and we had already talked about on the sideline about going for two, but I was just so geeked up that we scored. I was just over there celebrating so long. But, man, it's a blessing that we just had the opportunity to just on that last drive. You know, shout out to AP for, running and trusting me, making that happen. Shout out to Josh, for turning his head and getting the ball in his hands. And the O-line, great protection, all day. So, just great victories for us.
In that first touchdown, you lowered your shoulder to get in the end zone. I mean, just given what the past 2 weeks have been like, what was that moment like just for you to kind of be back here and doing this?
No, it felt good, but today I was just taking it one play at a time. I wasn't even thinking about the past 2 weeks. I'm just thinking about where I am now. I'm in this stadium. I was in MetLife Stadium today, so that's where I try to keep my mindset at. Just make it work each play, and that one right there, I was lucky I was able to get in the end zone.
You earned this opportunity, obviously, but they also did show faith, to give you this chance again. What does it say to reward that faith in you, I guess? It's a team perspective.
I don't know if it's any reward to me, but I just hope my teammates see that I'm willing to do anything for them. I'm willing to put my body on the line and go sacrifice anything out there on the field for them. But I definitely just appreciate them just for trusting me and just believing in me throughout the whole process. Regardless of what was going on. Just shout out to Colts Nation, man. I just appreciate all the support.
Anthony, was this the most prepared and confident you felt going into a start as a professional?
I wouldn't say the most prepared or the most confident, just the most relaxed I've been. There wasn't really any pressure on me. I was just out there taking it one play at a time. That's what I kept telling my teammates, just one play at a time, and that was going to get us the victory, and I think it did today.
So then what made you more relaxed today compared to the other ones?
I was just focused on my assignment. I wasn't trying to press or do anything too much. Even when we did go up 13-0, I didn't get too excited. Even when they came back and we were down 16-13 or whatever the score was, I was just keeping myself in it. Just believing in us and just believing that we had a chance to get the victory.
Can you feel yourself getting in a rhythm, or could you feel yourself getting in a rhythm once as the game kind of got into the second half in the fourth quarter there? I
feel like I was in rhythm all day, honestly. I had a great week of preparation this week, and it just translated into today. And I trusted my receivers to get open. The O-line protected me enough for me to deliver the ball. But I felt like I was in rhythm all day.
We know you love this game. It's taken away from you for a little bit there, but what does this do for your soul, man? You love the game, so just when did it sink in? Like, okay, this is what I dreamt of. These moments.
I don't know, honestly. Definitely a lot of excitement, but you know, it's just a testament just to, you know, show my faith in the Lord. You know, I appreciate him just for, you know, allowing me to stay calm and just stay focused out there on the field and just allowing us to get a victory. So I just got to keep my faith in the Lord, and he's just going to keep producing things like that.
Do you think that taking a step back the past 2 weeks helped you get prepared for today, or how did that change like your performance today?
It kind of just let me relax a little bit, you know, although I didn't, you know, necessarily want to relax too much, but it just allowed me to take a step back and just, you know, clean up some things that I had to clean up. And, you know, that was really my focus, is making sure, like, when I did get the opportunity again, making sure I was at the best of my ability and I was doing the right thing for the team.
Do you think you've learned something about when to take the deep shot? It felt like there were some maybe opportunities to throw a 50-50 ball that you passed up and then got the completion shorter intermediate today that we would have seen you throw deep before.
You know, I was just getting information all week. You know, I talked to our defense this week, you know, because they pretty much ran like the same scheme as them. And they were just telling me, like, how they were thinking the other team was going to play it. And then also the coach was telling me, like, if the shot's there, take it. If not, you know, just check it down and we could live with another down. So that was my thought process today, you know, just moving down the field each bit.
How did you get the ball out to Josh on that one play with a guy hanging on your back?
I honestly don't know. I was just waiting for Josh to make his move right there, and he was open, so I was trying to buy enough time to get him the ball, and luckily he was just able to find the ball.
What was a tougher one, that one or the one late that you threw out of bounds where the guy had you for felt like a while?
I think the one to JD was probably the tougher one for sure.
Josh, you've had a couple different plays, including the touchdown, where like when you had to have a play, he's when you went to, I guess. What's it mean to have a guy like that? You know, he had your back all season long, and then to be able to go to him in these moments.
Well, I'm pretty sure you guys know that's my guy right there. You know, but that's not only just me trusting in him. That's the coaches trusting him. They dial up plays to get him open, and it's my job to get him the ball. And I know for a fact he's gonna get open, no matter who's guarding him. So, you know, shout out to JD for just making it work.
What does it mean for the team at this stage of the season?
You know, definitely a lot of excitement. You know, we're definitely excited to get a victory, but, you know, we were trying to stack them up, honestly. You know, we don't try to, of course we're going to celebrate it, but we try not to focus on it too much, because we know it's another team coming in, you know, ending this upcoming week trying to stop us and put us down. So, of course, we're all excited, but we know we got more work to do.
You didn't have any big runs. You didn't have any big runs today, but you did run the ball more, like design runs. Do those help you get in the rhythm? Do you like those?
I think it helps our offense get in the rhythm. You know, it allows us to move the ball, and that allows the coaches to, you know, make some calls that they're not usually making whenever we're second and long. So I just appreciate them for just involving me in the offense and just allowing us to, you know, make it work.
When you're on the bench on last drive, they're trying to go in there and get a touchdown and put it away. You're sitting there hoping the defense can just give us the ball back. You hold them to the field goal. How geeked were you and excited for your teammates to give you that one more chance?
Man, I was definitely excited, but it's nothing that never happened before. You know, the defense always does a great job giving us the ball back. You know, a few times we definitely fell short, you know, without putting up points. But, you know, today God was on our side, and the guys did their job, and we scored and got the victory.
First fourth quarter comeback for you, first game-winning drive in your career. What's your reaction to that?
I was thinking about that. It's pretty cool, especially to do it against the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. You know, I've been watching him since I was a kid, so it's a blessing to be able to go against a legend.
What did you see on the game-winning touchdown? Just what was your look on that play?
Man, it was automatic QB run right there, and I just told myself that I'm getting in this end zone regardless of what happens. So I just try to, you know, find a way to get in there.
So that was Indianapolis Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson. Again, the Colts 28-27 winners over the New York Jets. Colts go to 5-6. Jets dropped to 3-8 on just a miserable football team. And I saw a stat the other day, and it was essentially, you know, the Jets brought in Aaron Rodgers because they wanted to compete. They thought this would be a top-tier acquisition that they would be able to bring in, and this would make their team better, right? Well, his winning percentage is worse than Zach Wilson's winning percentage, and it's worse than Sam Darnold's winning percentage. It is just a nightmare there for the New York Jets. So when you think about how tough the season has been for the Colts with the quarterback questions, are we going to put in Flacco? Are we going to play Richardson? What are the Colts doing at times? Just thank your lucky stars that you don't have to follow the New York Jets every week, because you talk about a miserable football team with absolutely no hope. That is where the Jets are. At least we've seen some flashes from the Colts this season. It's been inconsistent. It's been maddening. The 3-game losing streak, obviously not great. But there have been some things that you've seen from Anthony Richardson that at least give you some hope. With the Jets, it's not there. Their quarterback's, past his prime. Father Time has caught up, and, he just doesn't have much time left in this league. Aaron Rodgers doesn't. And there's no future with him because, he's at the tail end of his career. He is going to turn, he's going to turn 40. He's 40 right now. He'll turn 41 in December. And it's just not gone right for the Jets. But this week, the Colts came out on top. They've got a long way to go. They currently are positioned 8th in the AFC because they're going to have to battle for that final wild card spot. And it looks like it's going to be the Denver Broncos. Surprise of all surprises, right? With their rookie quarterback, Bo Nix. They've got a heck of a good coach in Sean Payton. And we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here. But that's where the Colts are going to aim because unless the Texans have a complete collapse here and the Colts get hot in these final few games of the year, then it's probably not competing for the AFC South Championship. It's probably realistically competing for, one of the last wild card spot or the last wild card spot in the AFC. And it's there. They've got to win some games, but it's there after they get past their next opponent, which, if they pull off a shocker this week, amazing. But this is their toughest game left on the schedule is against the Detroit Lions. After that, it's pretty soft for the Colts. If they can be a little more consistent and efficient on offense like they were. Not all games are going to be like this one against the Jets. And it wasn't perfect. They made mistakes, but it was still better than what we've seen. So next game up, it's a visit from the Detroit Lions at Lucas Oil Stadium. 1 p.m. kickoff. That game will be a Fox game, so it'll air on WXAM Fox 59 here locally in the Indianapolis market. So we'll talk about it all. We know that is a very, very good, maybe the best team in the league and playing some of the best football in the league right now, those Detroit Lions. Dave and Mike and I will talk about all that. We'll take a look at the injury report. We'll see how things are going for the Colts. But now, for the Colts Blue Zone podcast, I'm Matt Adams. Thanks for listening.